Welcome to GBTV. I'm Eric Stacklebeck in for Glenn tonight. You know, ever since the so-called Arab Spring began, we pointed out here at GBTV that socialists are some of the loudest cheerleaders for the Muslim Brotherhood and its rise to power in Egypt and beyond. Well, a lot of folks, even some establishment conservatives, scoff at that notion. No, they say. The followers of Marx, the sons of Sharia, could never, ever work together. This is fear-mongering of the highest order, they say. Well, I can give you many examples about how radical Islamists and the radical left can and are working together diligently. It's all well documented. And if you watch this show every night, you already know what I'm talking about. Here's the deal. Although socialists and Islamists do disagree on many things, the enemy of my enemy is my friend in their view. And their shared enemies are, number one, Bible-believing Christians. Number two, Israel. Number three, capitalism. And number four, that pesky U.S. Constitution. Basically, they are working together, despite their differences, to turn Judeo-Christian Western civilization on its head. And the number one reason that I know this, beyond a shadow of a doubt, because earlier this month they joined forces to come after me in a very personal way. On May 14th, I gave a speech at Portland State University. Now, the PSU chapter of Christians United for Israel, also known as CUFI, good friends of GBTV, graciously invited me to give a presentation on the latest developments in the Middle East. CUFI students put up posters around campus to promote the event, which was open to the public. Now, the posters featured the American and Israeli flags, plus my picture and bio. And as you can see, anti-Semitic vandals defaced the posters. They drew swastikas over the Star of David and scrawled pro-Palestinian slogans. Other posters around campus were simply torn down. Higher learning and free speech. Where to begin? First off, imagine the anger, shock, and revulsion that the Jewish students must have felt to see the symbol of Nazi Germany, perpetrators of the Holocaust, covering the Star of David. What did every Jewish student on the Portland State campus feel when they were greeted by that? They have clearly been marked for harassment and intimidation, if not worse. It also sends a message to Christian supporters of Israel, including myself, to watch their backs. Zionists, beware. But that's not all. In a mass email that was sent out by a pro-Palestinian student group made up of leftists and Islamists, I was branded, quote, a racist, hateful, intolerant, Islamophobic, fundamentalist, right-wing pundit who was not welcome in Portland. They said nothing, however, about the swastikas that were drawn over the event posters. But they did announce that they were organizing a protest against me. Now, between the swastikas and being called a racist, I gotta admit, I was feeling some righteous anger. But the night before I traveled to Portland, I cracked open my Bible. I know, very dangerous, a radical Christianist, and I opened it right to this verse from the book of Isaiah, staring me right in the face. It reads, "No weapon that is formed against you will prosper, and every tongue that accuses you in judgment you will condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their vindication is from me, declares the Lord." Now, I don't know about you, but I don't believe in coincidences. I read that verse several times, and then I went to bed with an overwhelming sense of peace. Then when I woke up the next morning and checked my email, the very first message I read, sent by a good friend, started like this. "We'll be praying for you in Portland, Eric. Remember, no weapon formed against you shall prosper." Now, where I'm from, that's called confirmation. I was ready for Portland State. And sure enough, when I arrived for my speech, I was greeted by about 40 protesters. You had the usual mix of Islamo-leftist zombies working together arm in arm. Muslims in hijabs and skullcaps, aging hippies, Occupy Portland stragglers, student socialists, maybe a few professors. They were all there, and they were clearly working together. But they didn't succeed. The event was a big success, and their protest was a bust. And by the way, their tactic was to tape their mouths shut. They called it a silent protest against my racism. I guess that spared me what Israeli Ambassador Michael Oren went through at the University of California, Irvine, when he was violently shouted down, or what conservative commentator David Horowitz experienced at UC San Diego. Watch this.
I'm a Jew. The head of Hezbollah has said that he hopes that we will gather in Israel so he doesn't have to hunt us down globally. For it or against it?
For it.
For it. How nice. Well, I'd imagine some of our friends at Portland State were also for it. So I challenged them directly to take the tape off and debate me, to prove me wrong, shoot holes in my facts. Let's have an open and honest debate. You call me a racist? Prove it. As you might have guessed, I'm still waiting. But here's the key. I addressed them directly. Right from the start, I challenged them. Honestly, I think they were kind of stunned. After all, I was supposed to be rattled by their fearsome presence. These intellectual giants are used to shutting people up and shutting down conversation through intimidation and accusations. At Portland State, it didn't work. Ladies and gentlemen, take a lesson from that. This is a time for boldness in the face of evil. We can't be wallflowers here. There's too much at stake. Their ideas are bankrupt, and yes, they are evil. They cannot stand up to the truth, and in the end, the truth is going to win out. It won't be easy getting there. Believe me, it's going to be tough, but it's going to win out, and it'll set you free. So, these intellectual giants at Portland State stayed for about 25 minutes of my speech, and instead of debating me, they got up in unison and they left. Now they waved some signs with anti-Israel slogans, a few shouted some insults, and then they were gone. Just like that. Brainwashed, misled, and really just sad. You know, I actually feel bad for them in a way, I do. Because they've been lied to and they are lost. The Bible says, and there's that Bible again, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So let's be educators. You know, I was told after my speech that a few of the protesters actually took off their tape, stayed, and listened to my entire talk. Now, some men you just can't reach. I know that all too well. Because at the end of the day, this is a spiritual struggle at its core. If you're watching this show on a regular basis, you already know that. You know the signs and the times. You have discernment, clearly. And you have an idea of what is going on, what is coming, and what it all means. You know, the book of Chronicles talks about the sons of Issachar, an elite group of 200 men who understood the times and knew what Israel should do. They advised King David. So I challenge everyone watching tonight to be sons and daughters of Issachar. You have all this knowledge. You understand the times. So what are you going to do with it? Time is short and getting shorter. Don't kid yourself. Look, the truth is going to win in the end. Absolutely. The Bible says, if God is for us, who can stand against us? Well, he's for this cause. Of that I'm certain. And remember, the reason that socialists, Islamists, black radicals like Farrakhan, the reason they hate America and Israel is because most of our people, are still fiercely democratic, fiercely sovereign, and still believe in the truth of the Ten Commandments. And that means America and Israel are standing in the way. For the Islamists, they're standing in the way of the caliphate. For the socialists, they're standing in the way of a Marxist utopia. But we are standing in the way. Make no mistake. We are the restrainers. God is the ultimate restrainer. But here on earth, America and Israel's refusal to budge to the world's demands puts us in the crosshairs. Don't kid yourself. Together. Now, President Obama doesn't like that closeness. And as he told the Russian President Medvedev recently, the only thing restraining him from giving away the farm right now is that he wants to get reelected. And if that happens, Israel will truly be all alone. But something tells me they're going to be just fine because they have friends in high places. As for me, I think it's